Welcome back to the channel. Your boy Papa Shro is here once again. We are ready for mock draft 2.0. Of course, about 4 weeks ago, I had mock draft 1.0, and it was right before the NFL Combine. My strategy is kind of just jump into the mock draft simulator, get some names, kind of figure out a few prospects. Obviously, we know about some of them and watch them in college, but just to kind of get a feel for what the mock draft is feeling like. So I do think that having so much time in between where I messed around with the mock draft simulator from then to now, a lot of different things. The compensatory picks are available now, so the Chiefs have a few more picks late in the draft. Mr. Irrelevant as well, but that first pick for the Chiefs, we're going to get into it. It's a weird one. Not 100% sure where to go. And now that you have Jaylon Moore, I feel like there's a little bit more stability, whereas it felt like the Chiefs had to draft a left tackle number one no matter what. So I think there's a little bit more flexibility with that first pick. The Chiefs do a great job at giving themselves flexibility in the draft, I think. We will be making a trade in this draft, so alert on that. We will be making a trade. And I know the first one I didn't really want to open up to trades as much, but these next couple that I'll do, I'm going to do at least one more before the actual NFL draft. And I do want to open up the trades a little bit more, maybe see what's out there. So this one, I feel like we got away with a steal in this trade. So let's get straight into this mock draft. Okay, so first things first, we are going to set up our mock draft here in PFF. We're going 7 rounds with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go ahead and enter this draft. Tennessee Titans on the clock. I am going to go back and slow this thing down just a bit. There's a couple of different thoughts as I've been messing around with the mock draft of things to do with pick 31, because I think when we get to 31, I'm not 100% sure what is going to be there for the Chiefs with now having Jaylon Moore at left tackle. I don't know if that's the right pick at 31, another tackle. And there is somebody later in the draft that I'm interested in for the Chiefs, and I think somebody that could be a bit of a project. You've got now 2 tackles on the roster getting paid pretty good money in Jaylon Moore and, of course, Jawan Taylor on the right side. So I don't think it's necessarily what it was in my first mock draft where I went with Josh Connerly. Also, this thing's been giving me some crazy results, so I am very interested to see how this draft pans out. So let's get right into it. Cam Ward, number 1 overall. Ashton Genty to the Browns. Abdul Carter falls, as he's went number 1 on pretty much everything that I've done. Finally get a tackle off of the board. Travis Hunter to the Dolphins at 13. Now this is where I get a little bit interested in wanting to possibly move up, because if we get in front of Buffalo, okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to try to figure out how to move up right in front of Buffalo to get exactly who we want. And that's only going to take a 7th round pick. We could literally just move up 2 spots for Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know how. I mean, I guess it's only 2 spots, so I get it. Whoever they want is probably going to be there. But low-key, this is a little bit too easy. So what we're going to do is we are going to swap picks with the Washington Commanders, and we are going to give up Mr. Irrelevant to draft one Luther Burden from Mizzou. That's who we're taking with pick 29. Gray Zabel is the guy that ends up going to Buffalo. I had one where Buffalo ended up getting, and how about the Giants? They still end up with Shedeur Sanders in the 2nd round. It's kind of showing you the difference that a month can make. Obviously, the last mock draft I did was before the Combine as well. So Luther Burden falling right there. The last one that I did, though, to explain that out, is with Buffalo. They took him, and so we lost him right in front of us. So now this becomes a very interesting pick, I think, at 63. Omar Norman-Lott is a guy I like a lot out of Tennessee, just as a pass-rushing D tackle. I don't know, man. I think that it's hard to go with interior, because I think for the Chiefs right now, edge is going to be what is needed. I feel like they've really solidified the interior of the defensive line just through certain moves that they've made. Mike Pennell comes back. I feel like there's a lot of players that are going to be, fighting for an opportunity out there at the interior. Now, that being said, we did see Tershawn Wharton's departure. So I do think that it's not necessarily a bad pick. My only issue now is where we go with edge. And that's something maybe trading up for Luther Burden. I kind of wanted to make a splash pick right there. But maybe looking at edge would have been a little bit better. Maybe a little smarter. But I do think that Luther Burden just adds such a dynamic, and especially a year where you're going to have Rashee Rice back, you're going to have Hollywood Brown back, and you're going to have Xavier Worthy. Now, I know that last season we went in saying, okay, this is going to be our receiving core. But the injury to Hollywood Brown in the preseason, obviously tough. And, going on from that, never really saw all three of them on the field at the same time, or actually didn't at all. Because you had Hollywood, return late in the season. Rashee Rice left in week 3, I think, with his knee injury on that horrific Mahomes interception play that just went to hell. And so now we will see that. But now we also have a little bit of, solidifying that wide receiver core with adding Luther Burden as well. So I think what I'm going to do here, because, obviously with the edge, you're looking for a pass rusher. To pair Omar Norman-Lott in the middle with Chris Jones coming off of the edge, and maybe Norman-Lott is some guy that you can kind of turn into that. Obviously, his run defense is not great, but he is a good pass rusher. I'm trying to see, I would like to see his measurables, 315, 6'3". I mean, it depends. I've seen a little bit of his film, but not a ton. I think that's going to be our pick here. I don't know if... We'll look at the best available right now real quick. Got another defensive tackle in front of him. I mean, you got 2 picks in front of us, so maybe we could go somewhere else. See if an edge came off recently. You got Josiah Stewart, who I do believe that I drafted in the first mock draft. Benjamin Morrison is another one that I do kind of like. And the reason I like him just for the Chiefs, just looking at some of this, he replaces Justin Reed. One thing with Justin Reed, a lot of people talked about how bad he was in coverage, but that's not what he was asked to do. You've got a guy with very high football IQ here, willing run defender, strength somewhat of a concern, getting off blocks and tackling, but we're talking about a corner. I think this guy, Benjamin Morrison, fits the Chiefs perfectly. This is exactly what they're looking for. You got a 6-footer at DB, and there's a lot of questions at cornerback, I think, going into the contract year for everybody with McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, all those guys that came out of that draft class. So I think I've talked myself into this pick of Benjamin Morrison here just because we just had a corner come off. We're going to go Morrison here and hope Norman-Lott is still there. And he will be. So we are going to draft Omar Norman-Lott. Now, we do still really want to look at an edge rusher at some point. 95, 133, 226, 251 is what we have left. But I do feel pretty confident in this draft so far. You get a very good pass rusher on the interior. Obviously, moving up for Luther Burden, I think, is, again, just going to solidify that offense. And I think something that they want to do, the Chiefs want to, build this offense back up into, kind of the gunslinging offense it was when Patrick Mahomes first entered the league. Now, another guy that I do really like for the Chiefs is Chris Paul Jr., who just went up here. I just wanted to mention him. Might have scrolled right past him. There he is. With the Rams, I do think that Chris Paul Jr. is a solid pick, and, a linebacking crew that you pretty much have everybody could be a good rotational piece, because I do feel like the Chiefs kind of lack in linebacker after what you got. Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton obviously just got re-signed for big money, and Leo Chanel. After that, I think that it gets a little bit tough at linebacker, and that's something I've kind of been looking at the back end of this draft of maybe finding a linebacker or two that we like. Now, we do need a running back, I think, is something that would be decent to go after at this point in this draft. We already have a receiver. I think Devin Neal, I know a lot of Chiefs fans obviously are also Kansas fans, and Devin Neal has been mentioned quite a bit. Shout out to Benjamin Hall real quick because he had both Benjamin Morrison and Omar Norman Lott back to back in the picks that we just took him. I'm looking at this again of, shout out to the people commenting. I love to get the feedback from y'all because it's awesome just, kind of talking these mock drafts out and then seeing what you guys are thinking as well. And I do really like some of these guys that a couple of these commenters had, and Benjamin Hall obviously going Ben Morrison, Omar Norman Lott. There's a couple other guys not as familiar with on his list. Josh Connerly took the same person that we took in that first film breakdown. Omarion Hampton obviously has went way up the draft boards. So shout out to Original Thunder Dude. He had him as the number 1 pick for the Chiefs. In that, Xavion Williams, another guy that I do kind of like out of TCU, kind of wide receiver, running back hybrid. Andy kind of likes those guys. Obviously, we saw in the past the Dexter McClusters. Tyreek Hill was that kind of guy coming out and developed into one of the best receivers in the NFL. So shout out to Original Thunder Dude for that comment as well. Looking at this running back situation, we are at pick 95 right now. Let's go ahead and look at our picks. We have 3. We have Luther Burden the third. Benjamin Morrison, who I think, again, good fit for the Chiefs, and I think helps kind of solidify that secondary, as well as Omar Norman Lott. I don't know. I think that was a little bit of a stretch to take him, but I think it just works out with the Chiefs. So we still need to solidify this offensive line a little bit, get some prospects in, and I think find some running back prospect. Devin Neal, is he our guy right now? I don't think so, because we get to Charles Grant. This is the tackle that I was talking about that I would like to see the Chiefs draft. And, if you watch Brett Coleman's videos, he mentioned him. And Omar Norman Lott was another guy on his video that he mentioned of kind of sleepers in this draft. I think Charles Grant is that. He is someone that's still developing his football game. I think he started somewhere in high school. So he hasn't even been playing football for a long time. Big guy, good arm length, and I think that's perfect for the Chiefs to kind of start rebuilding the tackle spot. Now we know, I feel like I've talked about the Chiefs don't draft tackles very well. Obviously guards they do. I would like to pick Devin Neal here, but we're going Charles Grant. I actually haven't seen him fall to pick 95 and kind of forgot about him as I was talking through this. So we do have a tackle now on the roster from this draft that I really like in Charles Grant out of William & Mary, and kind of a project. Like I said, we've got both tackles we know for a few years. I think Jawan Taylor's got at least, 2 more years on this deal. So that's somebody that we can, look forward to develop and hopefully develop in somebody that's going to be, a very good left tackle. So we obviously don't have a pick now until 133. We're coming up on that pick. Devin Neal goes to Denver here, but I think running back is going to be something to look at, and running back's starting to go right now. And I think that we're still going to need to look for an edge possibly. Yeah, we haven't taken care of that at all. So we're looking kind of running back or edge at this point. Maybe a linebacker at this point. We got 3 picks left, and we are on day 3 at this point. So I kind of looked around on the last film breakdown. I've done a lot more research since then, as I kind of came in blind to that mock draft. But I do kind of like to start out just coming in blind. And obviously on PFF, we have a ton more to go off of here. Xavion Jones, I don't think that looks like a bad pick. Needs work on his hand usage as a pass rusher. Has had some tackling issues, which I don't think bodes well for the Chiefs. I don't think they like that. But, maybe it's also part of their system, because I feel like Brian Cook has come a long way in his tackling. I do not feel like Brian Cook was a very good tackler at all, and I feel like he has improved. Xavion Jones might not be a bad pick at this point in the draft at 133. Let's look at Antoine Powell-Ryland. Get a little bit of analysis. Shorter strides, limit how much ground he can cover, lower percentile and arm length. That does show up against NFL level offensive tackles. So we are going to go ahead and go with an edge here. I like the pick of Xavier Jones right here, and then I think we're going to look at running back after that. Let's look real quick and peek at the running backs that are on the board. Trevor Etienne wouldn't be a bad pick. I don't know if he'll last to 226, as we have almost 100 picks in between 133 in round 4 to obviously our 7th round picks. But I do think having more guys in the rotation as pass rushers is more important to this offense, and especially already getting Luther Burden. We're going to go with Xavier Jones. And we'll see what we got left at running back. So I think these last 2 picks either go with another offensive lineman, a linebacker we like, and I think priority maybe getting a running back. So we started to see some of them come off the board, and we're starting to see more running backs come off the board now. Be interested if ETN makes it. We got a little bit to go. Quinn Ewers going to Arizona. May have had a little bit more time on an edge, as we just finally saw that other edge go that we were looking at. So far, we still got quite a bit to go, but running backs are not going right now. Got a lot of offensive linemen coming off the board. Obviously, you're solidified at center, so I'm not too worried about that. Guard, I'm iffy on. Trevor Etienne goes to the Raiders. So how about a couple of running backs that we liked out there on the board going to division rivals, as we are finally getting in range to our pick 226. Broncos going receiver at 197. Got the Chargers also going receiver at 199. I think smart for both of those teams. They have their guys that they want at quarterback. Brady Cook. Shout out Brady Cook going to Cleveland. That's kind of tough. Seems like where quarterbacks go to die is in Cleveland. So here we are. Pick number 226. Now, we did pick up a DB. Let's look at running back first thing. So we got Jaquindon Jackson, Jaquavius Marks out of Arkansas and USC, Montrell Johnson Jr. out of Florida. Kind of wanted to look up here and see if anybody had late running backs, which they do not. Any of the couple of guys that commented with their own mock drafts. Donovan Edwards, college football 25 cover athlete. He is down there ranked 299. So 226. Where do we want to go? Sacramento State guard Jackson Slater. Linebacker out of Kentucky, Jamon Dumas Johnson. Other than that, we have our edge. Running back-wise is really just going to be any of these guys that I feel like at this point we can just take a running back at 251 and call it good. So let's look at Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State. Lacks powerful punch at contact. Hand placement can be too narrow. Can dip his eyes, get crossed up by quicker interior rushers. Good weight, but lacks true body density. And, I mean, a rookie could compete, 6'4", 316, for that left guard position. And obviously Tooney has now left an opening. I mean, I think the Chiefs are expecting it to be Sumatia. That's who I would expect it to be, moving over from left tackle to left guard. He was the guy that was, supposed to be the new left tackle, essentially. You still have Wanya Morris in there. Caliendo, who played in the Super Bowl, could be competing for it as well. Long arms for a center. He's listed as a guard here, but then I'm assuming he's played center in college. Ideal interior offensive lineman build, light on his feet and pass protection, and when climbing or pulling, natural athlete. You know what? I think I'm sold on Jackson Slater. So I think solidify, add some more depth to the offensive line. I don't think at this point, especially after that Super Bowl, that's something that we can be upset about. Again, let's add a little bit more depth to this offensive line. And 251, I'm going to try to find a running back. Obviously, you got Mostert in there too. I think that having a rookie running back, there's a full running back room at this point because the Chiefs did re-sign Kareem Hunt. Still have, obviously, Isaiah Pacheco, but Pacheco did not look good there at the end of the year. And I don't know if it was just because of the injury and he was still, kind of hampering from it or what exactly. We do have a linebacker, Kane Medrano here. Few different guys on the offensive line. I don't think that it would be a bad idea to even go offensive line again. Looks like running backs, we have about the same thing. Raheem Sanders and Donovan Edwards is what is left. But I do think trading out Luther Burden for a running back is kind of where I'm at this point. Because obviously you don't get Luther Burden. I think that you need to maybe we make that Devin Neal pick instead of going with, I can't think of buddy's name. Left tackle out of William & Mary. All right, so we don't have anything on Kane Medrano. 6'3", 230. Maybe a little light for a linebacker. His grade has went up quite a bit. Pass rush grade good. Coverage grade is good, which I think is big. I don't know. The Chiefs linebackers lack coverage a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more stability in the linebacker room and go Kane Medrano out of UCLA to finish out our draft. Again, we traded Mr. Irrelevant to move up to get Luther Burden. Otherwise, I assume the Bills would have drafted him there again. And let's check out our grade and see what PFF thought about us. Funny enough, the last draft, they had somebody that I should have drafted over Josiah Stewart. PFF told us we should have drafted Carson Schwessinger, which is, I believe, an edge out of UCLA. No, linebacker out of UCLA. Which I don't think spending a pick on a linebacker that high is a good idea for the Chiefs. This time they're telling us instead of Benjamin Morrison, we should have drafted Josiah Stewart. I do like our pick of Benjamin Morrison. Again, I think he's just a guy that fits with the Chiefs. So Luther Burden, the third, we got an A grade. Benjamin Morrison, PFF didn't like it. C grade. An A at 66 with Omar Norman Lott. We got a B plus with Charles Grant. Again, personally, I'm just high on Charles Grant. I think that it's a very good pick to develop a tackle. I don't think the Chiefs have been very good at drafting tackles to be ready day one. So draft a project. See if in a couple of years Charles Grant can become a stable left tackle for Patrick Mahomes in the next journey of his career, essentially. I think that, especially after this year, once Kelsey retires, I assume that he will definitely retire after this year. We're looking at, probably a completely new era of Chiefs football, really. And, Rashee Rice, what happens with him? Are they going to pay him big money? I'm sure he's going to command some big money when his contract is due up. So this gives you also a little bit more life drafting another potential, maybe fringe number one, number two guy that is going to add a lot on the field offensively. Got a B plus grade with Xavion Jones at edge at 133. Our guard Jackson Slater, an A grade, and a C plus for Kane Medrano, the linebacker, at 251. So with that being said, this will wrap up my second mock draft of the year. I think this is a pretty good one, honestly. I do like a lot of, just, again, getting that stability. Cornerback, I think, is kind of up in the air over the next couple of years of just who you're going to keep, who you're going to pay. Obviously, Trent McDuffie is going to command a huge deal. So where does that leave you with everybody else, where you got two other guys that you're going to have to pay or move on from or figure something out? Omar Norman Lott, very good pass rushing interior defensive lineman. I think the Chiefs have quite a bit of stability at defensive tackle, but at the same time, Chris Jones is not getting any younger, and maybe a replacement for him at some point down the line. Not sure, how much longer Chris Jones will play, and that does not get talked about too much, I don't think, here in the last year. So obviously still playing at a high level. I do think Chris Jones takes some plays off here and there, which, but when he's on, he absolutely dominates the entire game. Maybe Omar Norman Lott can become that, or, just that dynamite third down interior lineman. A little bit of depth at edge with Xavion Jones, and again, just trying to add depth to that offensive line. But let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this draft. What would you do? Again, love getting those comments in and hearing from you guys of who you would have or picked essentially in these situations. And what you guys think about the trade. I think moving up 2 spots for Mr. Irrelevant is a pretty damn good deal to get Luther Bird in the third. So let me know in the comments below what you think, who you got the Chiefs taking, and you pumped for this draft or what. I'm excited to really get some more football going, I guess. I mean, I know it's a draft, but a lot of hype around the draft every year, obviously. Make sure you smash that like button, smash the subscribe button for me if you enjoy the content, and I will at least have one more mock draft coming your way before the draft here in a few weeks. Until then, I'm out.